Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining me and David. As if you've been on the call before, what we like to delve into is some of the successful people in the mortgage broker industry, just a little bit about them, how they do it, the successes they had, some of the pitfalls they've had. And joining me today is David Baker of Lift Mortgages. For those of you who don't know David, I think it's easy to say that he is the highest grossing mortgage broker in the country. Lending was about over 300 million last year, so massive amount for one person to do. So really interesting to get you on. I'm really grateful for you to come on actually, David, and just kind of reiterate what we've discussed in the past as to how you come to that, because I know it's not an overnight success, and I know it is, something you've had to work on. So, I really appreciate that. So if we can kind of start with you, just kind of tell us about your journey, tell us a bit about Lift Mortgages and how you've got to where you are.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I started out basically 20 years ago, Marcus, and I think, that's one of the key things for me is that this isn't a quick industry. It's something you've got to do for a period of time. And, any sales job, ultimately, it's about who you know over a period of time. Started out a small building society, great to learn the trade, leads provided, whoever walked in, great. Went to a big national bank who set up a brand new brokerage, which was fantastic, and I loved it. Did 2 years there. My boss then said, why are we making all this money for this big bank? Why don't we go on our own? So we set up our own business, ran that for 4 years, which was great. Had a bit of time as a financial advisor for like 18 months when the market died. A bit of time on my own, which I really enjoyed, and it had good and bad, I think, working purely for yourself. And then Lift, I mean, literally was just a chance meeting really between me and my boss, the business owner, really, via a recruiter. Just went with an open mind about it, and I've been at Lift. I'm almost at my 10-year point now, really. Started out as a financial advisor who did mortgages. Very quickly saw the opportunity at Lift because, Lift are a great firm. I'm going to say that, but we are a great firm. Loads of opportunity. Begged my boss to let me set up a mortgage business, and he was a bit reluctant. He never admits that these days because it's gone well, obviously. But at the time, he was a bit reluctant. But, you know what it is. It was his idea, I'm sure, ultimately. But yeah, but long term, 10 years at Lift now, and I've gone from kind of an advisor to head of mortgages, and I'm now managing director, which means, as you know, any managing director is making the bulk of the decisions realistically about the business.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know I kind of touched on it then, and we delve into it privately, but I don't think there's anyone else that does as much as you in regards to lending. Do you think I'm correct in saying that? I don't. It's we're right up there, aren't we? I mean, I know some of the private client guys in Dubai, and again, we talked about this, and some really affluent places, and I still think yours is highest in regards to what you bring in a year. So
yeah, I've been told that by lenders. I mean, I go to awards, and people who should know tell me that I'm doing the most business in the country, which amazing. I don't think about it, but equally it feels fantastic. If you're the best at what you do, it would be an amazing feeling, I'm sure. I think incredible. I must be up there in terms of what I'm doing.
You're super humble about that as well, and I think that's incredible because I don't know who else. When I first spoke to you, I didn't know who, or what sort of person you'd be, what sort of character. And I was over the moon actually when we first spoke because, like I said, super humble, like happy to give away stuff for add value and that kind of thing to people for free. So on that side, I'm sure that must be, again, we've touched on it in the past, so it'd be nice to have a chat about it, but your kind of positivity and you're willing to add value for free and that kind of thing. Do you think that directly relates to how much you make, or how good you are as a broker?
Yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, I think it is down to me personally in my life. No matter what the situation, I'm always trying to look for the positives. There's always good stuff to come from anything, and sometimes the bad stuff leads you to good stuff. So that's a positive in many ways, anyway. I don't really let things get me down too much. I care. I'm passionate about the business. I'm passionate about Lift and doing the best job for our clients. But equally, I'm not losing sleep over stuff. I'm trying to all the time be positive and look for the best function. And talking about competing, I think the reason I can be humble is I don't really see it as competition with anyone else. I'm kind of competing against myself. So all I want to do is try and get a better business for Lift. I want to try and do better than last year for me individually, but also for my team. And I think when you take out that element of I'm trying to compete against everyone else, I'm actually not. I'm just trying to do better than I did last year. Because if I can keep improving, if I can pick the business up 1, 2, 3% in terms of the quality for what we're doing, the quality for our clients, then we've won. And if someone else somewhere else in the world doesn't pound more than me, good luck to them. There's enough business to go around for everyone.
Yeah, that's great. And it's the abundance mindset, isn't it? If you're not concentrating on someone else's, you'll get loads of business because that's there is enough for everyone. There's loads.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, we have internally we've got people, financial advisors doing well, and we have a bit of banter between us, and I enjoy the banter. But it's not life changing stuff.
How close is it between you and the financial advisor?
Well, the top financial advisor beat me this year, and he's literally let me know so many times. Really annoying. I actually hate him now as well. So it's to be expected. Not, it wasn't that much. He'll tell you it was a lot more than it was, but it wasn't a huge amount. I don't think.
Can you let know that under management don't count, do they? Because it's you know, you've got to keep going.
That's what I said. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's not new business. It doesn't count. So. Yeah.
And so, just in regards to, I know you mentioned then you touched on your team, because doing that much lending with the best, even if you are Superman, you can't do that on your own. So, touch on kind of what you do. I tell you what's interesting for me, and I hope some brokers really take this on board, is you invested heavily into administration, and some people don't see the benefit of it because it's not sales or marketing. Can you talk to people about that?
Yeah, I mean, I find it really interesting seeing some of the talks that you've done, and I watch quite a lot of people talking, you know, big people in the industry, and there seems to be not a belief in you need that many admin people. And realistically, if you want to do the volume that I'm doing, first of all, the clients don't want me touching their admin. It would be a disaster for them, so they really don't want me anywhere near it. I did one once during lockdown, and I nearly managed to mortgage the Shard, which was quite impressive, you know, like the entire building, so you don't want me touching it. And I've got a team of 4 brokers, including myself, and we've got 6 admin. And the admin is split basically a manager. We've got 3 day-to-day admin that are looking after case handling, and then we've got kind of 2 rate switch people in effect, really, because of the volume of rate switch that we do. I know we'll touch on rate switch, so I'm a firm believer in it. Not everyone is. And the reality is once I've spoken to the client, once the client's given us the go-ahead, I largely don't touch that case a great deal. I'm there for the questions. If they want to know about products or borrowing more, of course, that's me. But I'm not chasing documents. I'm not speaking to lenders. I'm not chasing stuff. I've got a team of people that do it. And not having to do that then allows me to go and work on the new business. I think you know what's really hard as an advisor is the business development, because we all know we should spend more time on LinkedIn. We all know we should go to events. But how could I possibly do that if I'm answering 40 emails about when's my survey booked? You know, which with all due respect is not really my job. Not a lift anyway, but luckily. So I've got an amazing team of admin people around me. Every one of them is just trained in certain areas. So, you know, my rate switch team, within seconds, they know who the lender is, and they know how to get the options. They know where the options have been recently. If the client says go ahead, you don't need me to secure it. Ultimately, they can do that. So a lot of the time, I won't touch that other than the advice element. I do honestly believe, and I'm sure we'll touch on it later, I believe that you should be good at certain things. I'm good at the advice. If you want someone talking to the client, it's probably me you want. But if you want someone chasing a lender, that doesn't need to be me, in my opinion.
100%. It doesn't make any sense at all to, I mean, we do a similar thing. Don't want to go too much into recruitment, but we don't do a 360 recruitment thing because I don't believe in it. I'm not good at admin. I'm good at speaking to people. Why on earth would you spend time doing something that someone else, I mean, it's not just cost effective. Someone else is brilliant at admin. Someone else is brilliant at chasing lenders. Someone else is brilliant at product transfers. Why would you do it? It doesn't, you know, you're not going to lend that. You're the proof's in the pudding. You would not make as much money as you do if you had to do it all yourself.
Totally agree. I think also there's a real value to for the person doing it. So in my rate switch team, I've got a young lad that works for me. He's been with us about 2.5, 3 years now. And what we started doing is I said, when we do the rate switches, I want you to give me the idea what you think I'm going to do. So I want you to learn what my mindset is. So I've got certain things that I would always do. So, you know, if the client's thinking of moving, we try and use the tracker where we can, because I don't really want to fix them in, those kind of things. And now, I mean, literally, you know, fairly early stages in his career, but he knows the right type of lenders. He knows why he would go to a lender. Whenever I make a decision, he calls me and goes, I know why you've done that. And he's spot on every time. So it's been a great bit of training for him as well. It's made my life easier. And when he gets out to become an advisor in the future, he's going to go, well, I remember all that stuff in the early days and I know why we did that. And I think it's good for all parties. But yeah, for me, admin is key. You can't be super successful, or whatever you would call it, if you haven't got great people behind you. It's just impossible.
No. And like you touched on there, also like the product switch. I know we've talked about in the past that I know brokers who have been in the game as long as you that still buy leads. And they won't touch the product transfers because they don't make money from it, and they won't do this still, and they won't do that, and they handpick stuff, and first-time buyers are a pain in the arse, and things are, you know, frustrating for them. But you deal with all your clients, then there's nothing that you won't help someone with.
No, not at all. I do see brokers like that. So I go to quite a few events and I talk to brokers and they go, I'm not touching product transfers, or I'll only do them if they're $500,000 or whatever. And I think there's actually, in the past, there used to be a real historic hatred of product transfers. Some brokers would rather move you, and I'm sure we can talk about this, but the commission's normally more if you move someone, if you keep the same place. You know, it happens. I think, you know, those people are largely gone out of the industry, but when I started, that was the perception. I think the game changed for us as brokers probably, I don't know, someone will know this, 4 or 5 years ago, when a few of the lenders, probably a bit longer, but, you know, a few of the lenders, Santander, Nationwide, started paying on product transfers. Because before that, you had to basically move someone to make money. Whereas they started to realise that we're having those conversations. I'm still talking to the client. I still got to give the advice. But what used to happen is that the advice would be go to Santander, and the end bit would be, or any lender, it didn't have to be that lender, but go to a lender. And the lender would go, thanks, here, I've got the client, but I'm not paying you for it. And we'd done all the work, and it was very unfair. And all these big lenders, bit by bit, I remember the kind of month on month, it was a trickle effect where one of the big lenders went, and the next one said, we're going to start paying you for the product transfers.
To be fair, that was smart on their point as well. That was very smart of the lender, because they're getting the business back. They're losing customers, and obviously you've got to treat your customers fairly. You've got to give them the right product and that kind of thing. So it makes a lot of jobs easier for you, because you've still got to make money. Everyone's got to make money. I think the product transfer market makes complete sense.
But there's quite a snob factor around, I think, like product transfers. People don't, brokers don't want to do them. I think sometimes clients feel they've got to keep moving to get the best deal. The reality of moving, and we talked about a bit of conveyancing, earlier on, and sometimes, when you move lender, you might move and you might save a tenner a month, which is great. And don't get me wrong, a tenner is helpful. But if you're doing that and you keep a ton of paperwork, conveyancing can be hard work. The free legals, we all know it. There's loads of brilliant ones out there, but there can be somewhere it takes a bit longer.
It's not the most desirable part of the.
No, I think we can agree on that one. And you've often got exit fees. You leave Santander, it's £225. Well, can you justify that in these? And I don't always think these are factored in. I personally would always try and transfer a client if we can, because I don't want disruption in their lives. We've got busy people. We want to keep it nice and simple. And I think, closing your eyes to product transfers, in my opinion, is a big move. I certainly would never do it. I would do it also because I think it's good for the client. Ultimately, someone's trusting me with their finances. They're coming to me, and even 20 years in, I still feel a massive honour that someone would trust their lives to me like that. Something so important, and I wouldn't want them to do it and make a mess of it. Equally, if it's a small one, so what? It doesn't take as long. We can do it, and then next time when they move, they'll think of us again. It's all about loyalty between us and the clients. If the clients think of us, I'm delighted with that. And if they start doing it themselves, they might not come back to me next time, and that's a big risk for a broker, in my opinion.
So that's golden. I hope any new broker, I hope old brokers are listening, to be fair, but new brokers who are kind of really conscious about drumming up money quickly, like, it's a patience game, isn't it? It's patience in this business. You've got 10,000 clients now, roughly, haven't you? And that is, give or take, that's a massive client bank. So I appreciate you're extremely busy, but at the same time, you don't get client banks like that from just doing cherry picking the good ones. You've got to work with everyone. And like you say, you do a product transfer for someone today. Later on they have kids, their protection needs change, their mortgage needs changes, they have to move. It's huge, and then you've lost that. So you've got to be patient.
Great, completely. My biggest ever client that we've done, the biggest mortgage I've ever done in my life, came to us as a first-time buyer, borrowing about £300,000, and another broker had said he's not really interested. And if that broker knew what the client's borrowing now, and he's done brilliant in his career, I'm so happy for him. I think he'd quit his job today. He'd be so mortified, because you've got to look after people. And I try to take a view. These are going to be clients for the future. We're looking where they're going to be in the future, not where they are now sometimes.
Yeah. If you forget, you can't go for the quick buck. You can't, can you? You've got to.
It's not the right way to run a business. It's a client-centric business. Think about your client number one. If you get the client right and they believe in you and they know that you've got their 100% best interest at heart, which is what I do, then they'll follow you always. And a lot of the time, I could have probably done another 20, 30 million if I'd done exactly what the clients wanted. But sometimes I'm saying, that's not a good choice. Have you really thought this through? It's not about the money. It's about the right decision, because they'll refer me to more people moving forward.
Yeah. So just to kind of reiterate that, the customer-centric side of things is the reason you're successful.
I think so.
I don't think, it's not fluke, is it? It's not fluke that the most positive people, and I'll touch on positivity in a minute, actually, because that's something really interesting. That's something that kind of drew me to you when, before I knew about any of this, actually, I really want to speak to you the first time. I wanted to connect with you. But consistency, I think, is one thing I want people to take from it, consistency and patience. But in regards to the positivity side of things, we can touch on this. Your social media, you never moan about conveyancing. You never moan about how long you're on the phone. You don't moan. And I know there must be a link between how positive you are all the time and, again, how much you lend, because you see so many brokers moaning. And well, you give me your take on it. I think there's a correlation in it.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. I mean, I think if you get the right mindset, and I'm not really kind of into this positive mindset stuff, but I just live my life and try to be positive, and there's nothing more than that to it. You know what? There's no secret to it. Whatever it is, I'm trying to be positive, and I don't care what it is in life. There's always good things to come from these things. I think that, LinkedIn or any social media is so important to us. For me, I see LinkedIn as my shop front. So, you know, our parents used to go get their mortgage. They walk down our local high street, there'd be a shop, and they'd walk in if they like the produce on the outside. My shop front is LinkedIn. So if you go on my profile, you've got recommendations, 100+ for clients. I'm constantly talking about the market. But you've got to remember that LinkedIn is good and bad. It's amazing for networking, but people can see what you're saying. And I see brokers slagging off lenders, moaning about BDMs, you know, business development managers, for those that aren't sure. You know, and I just think I don't want my clients to see that. I want them to see me as a professional, and my only interest in my life, give or take my personal life, obviously, but my work life, is mortgages. And that, I'm not doing any other topics. I'm just talking about mortgages because I'm passionate about it, and I want people to see that passion. What I don't want them to see is me slagging off a lender. And if I've got a problem with a lender, I would call the BDM. I would professionally talk to them, and I see the BDMs as friends. Basically, they're friends to help you to get a good deal. Over the lockdown, our BDMs are being abused by brokers left, right, and centre. And I'm speaking to BDMs in tears. It's terrible. You know, these are people that are going to help you in your life. Why would you not be absolutely spot on with them? And I just kind of keep that positive attitude throughout the whole thing because it's the right way to deal with people. I want people to look at me when they deal with Lyft. I want them to go, that was a good transaction. They were professional, and that comes from me as the head of the business, portraying myself and the business at all times in the right light. If I start slagging off a lender, it's not right. You know, the conveyancers are sick of it. They're getting stick from everyone. It's not their fault half the time. Yeah, I mean, I follow conveyancers on there, and they looking, you know, some of them got their head in their hands. You can see it when they're typing on LinkedIn. And they're saying because they're getting abused by people, and you know, we come to work to earn our living. We're not here to be abused. So I would, you know, that's just not me at all.
It's not just because on the positive side, because you must still get problems with lenders. You must still get problems with conveyancers. It's just how you want to be perceived on the outside. And if people, I do see brokers doing it so everyone else can say, yeah, me too. You know, oh, that's my problem as well. Yeah, I agree with that. But everyone knows the problems in the industry. Right, let's talk about what's good. Because actually, it's a brilliant industry. Totally. It doesn't make sense to slag everyone off. It's nice if it's in there, but you're like you say, LinkedIn has got millions of people looking at it outside of mortgage brokers, and just be aware of what you put on there. And
totally. So I did a post just before Christmas, and I just basically said, you know, we've done 330 million in lending. I've done it. I mean, the business has done a lot more. Don't get me wrong, but personally, it was my best ever year. And I'm normally talking about the business because it's bigger than me. Obviously, there's a whole load of us. But for me, I was really personally achieved for that. And it was New Year's Eve. My wife and I just getting ready to go out, really excited. So I put the post up. And so I posted it at 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve. And I've had something like 40,000 views now. And I've had 300, you can look yourself, it's online, you know, it's on LinkedIn, but 300 odd likes. People are seeing it, and they're seeing me being positive. I think, you know, the fact that I'm saying thank you to our clients, because without your clients, you know, we don't advertise. I've never spent a penny really on advertising. We've done a bit of sponsorship of football kicks, which I'll talk about. It's quite a good deal, really. But, you know, things like that. But actually, I've never spent a penny on leads. I've just gone to the clients and said, if we do a good job, please refer. And the clients will do it in abundance. Mortgages is such an easy referral because we've pretty much all got one. And if we do it, and you move home, you go, I need to move home. Oh, who did your mortgage for? You know it. And I did pensions for a while, and pensions very hard to get referrals on because it's quite a private thing. Investments, we don't want to tell our friends how much savings we've got, but we don't mind talking about our mortgage or how easy it was. And it's one of the easier financial services areas to get referral in.
Yeah, it makes sense. So in regards to, this does attract a lot of people, especially in the recordings and stuff, we go back through it. This attracts a lot of new brokers who are looking, who I love speaking to. It makes sense to speak to them. You know, they're like sponges. It's great to watch people grow as well. It makes me feel old when I see some of them who are just not qualified now, they're in their own businesses. But if you're just starting out now, what kind of tips can you give that perhaps how the market's changed? One thing I will say is that it always seems a bit easier to kind of jump into the market perhaps now, but is there any kind of tips that you think would help someone, benefit someone who's starting out?
I think if I was starting out now, I mean, I think first of all, everyone's desperately trying to get to the sort of level that I'm at. If I don't that sound big-headed, but you know, they're trying to get to the top end, but it takes a little while.
You've got to aspire to be the person at the top. Everyone wants to do what the lending you're doing, don't they? So if you don't, then you're not game.
Exactly. And I would say that for me, it's taken 20 years to get here, really. I mean, it's been 20 years of networking, 20 years of going out. For the first 15 years of my mortgage working life, I went to every event going, really. You know, I would finish work at 6 in the city somewhere. I would go to an event after that. I did all the kids' parties because I would talk to the parents. You know, I talked to people on the train. I'm that sort of person. I'm always talking, to be fair. And I would say networking is your key one straight away. You know, you've got to be prepared to put the hours in. It's not going to come easy. And sometimes you go to events and you don't think you've got a lot, but then something comes out of it 3-6 months later, and it's brilliant for you. So I think that'd be one of the first things I would say. You know, there's no shortcuts. It's going to take time. It really is a numbers game, and the more people you know, the more they refer, and the easier it gets. And the first 3 or 4 years probably really hard. I think as you go on now, and I find it, I've probably had, I don't know, 6-7 leads today probably, which some I've taken, some I've shared amongst my team where they've got more expertise. But you know, directly clients have referred 6-7 people to me today. So it's not as hard as it used to be. I would be really careful as well. Another tip from me is you know, how you portray yourself now is, because the way social media is, it's out there forever now. And we know that in our lives, in our private lives anyway, but you know, make sure that you start in the right way, look professional, talk professionally, deal with people professionally, because you'll get more clients. But if you do stuff that isn't brilliant, it's going to be out there for years to come, and you don't want that behind you, really, would be another tip. I think also people underestimate how hard it is to self-gen. You know, it really is. It's a really big skill, and I think there's no harm in going to be an advisor, learning the trade, learning how to network, whilst being given some leads in the starting point. I see loads of people. A good friend of mine works in travel, great guy, sick of traveling. When I want to be a mortgage broker, and he got CMAP, which, you know, quite good for him, got it online, and he said, I'm now a mortgage broker, I've got a self-gen. And he didn't know where to start, because you know, you wouldn't, would you? You know, if I self-generate travel leads, I'd struggle. You know, it's not my bag really. And there's no harm in going to a bank, learning. I learned at a really small bank, 18 months of just learning how to talk to people. I was then given leads probably for another 2 years at the next bank I went to. It's only really my 3rd job where I had to start self-generating. But then I used to, little things like when I used to do the commute from mine to London's about 45 minutes, 7 a.m. I used to try and sit next to someone who looked like they were quite wealthy, and I'd try and strike up a conversation. And no, I'm not joking, Mark, it's genuinely true. I'm probably not even allowed anymore, but this was quite a while ago. Yeah, and I think I actually got about 10 clients still that I met on the train, and I targeted them because they look like they were people worth talking to, you know. But
that's something
you've got to kind of
Go on, sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure that people get that, because we've talked about like how positive you can be and how friendly you are and how customer centric, but it's work ethic. Your work ethic is one of the major reasons. Like, you can't just be positive. You can't just, and it won't just come to you. You've got to work hard, haven't you? It's a hard work. People want this quick buck situation, but
I think also you've got to work smart there, Marcus. Sorry to interrupt you this time. I think you've got to work smart as well. You know what? It's great to work hard, but there's no point working hard if there's no end product. I think for me personally, I try and look at everything and go, how can I get the client where they want to be as quick as possible in a sensible way? And working hard is brilliant. And sometimes, I mean, over Christmas, I had quite a lot of time off because it wasn't as busy. But then, you know, the other night I worked through to midnight because I didn't want to leave the clients hanging. And I think it is that sort of job where the 9 to 5 hours don't really apply. You work when there's work if you want to be successful. I'm sure you're no different. I'm sure any salesperson.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the same thing about your work ethic. Like, you've earned what you earned. You know, last year you made what you made, and then you're still on the phone to people at midnight. Now, people need to see that. If you're, you know, 25-year-old wondering why you're not making 6 figures, you know, it's because you're not there yet. You'll get there. You've just got to work hard, and you just, you know.
Totally. And I would say as well, in my first 10 years, you know, it was hard, and I made enough to get by. And it's been the last 10 years, I felt a lot happy with what I've been earning. I've been earning what I wanted to earn. The first 10 years were decent. Don't get me wrong, I was you know, doing well, but it wasn't quite what I was. So if I was 25 now, I wouldn't be panicking about not earning the big bucks just yet. You've got so much time on your hands, you really have.
Do you feel as well with yours, because of your, it's strange because the wrong hands come up in front of me when I'm doing it on the screen, but do you feel like the compound effect, like it's suddenly sharp because you like compound interest, you know, where you just put in the hours over the years, over the years, it just all of a sudden you get to a point when you go, you know, like, how did I get here? Because it dramatically scoops up at the end, and it will be more next year and more the year after.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't think growth for me went in a straight line. You know, in the early days it was very slow, and then as it goes on now, it's more and more. And last year was probably my biggest growth year percentage. You know, so much of that was stamp duty helped. I've now got, I mean, I've always had a good team behind me, but I have a really strong team of people behind me. So, you know, when I talk about me, it isn't really me. It's 7 people, it's me and 6 admin. I've not got all the admin time, don't get me wrong. You know, my other brokers are used as well, but you can't do it on your own. You physically can't do it. But yeah, I think it does go in now. I mean, you know, if you think you've got 1,000 clients and you get 1 in every 10 years you leave, you've only got a certain amount of clients. When you've got 10,000 clients, if 1 in 10 does it, you've got a load more leads to deal with. It really is that compound effect. And I think you can help yourself by, you know, just doing the right things on there, making sure you go the extra mile, that kind of stuff. You know, sometimes the client will ask me for a quote, but I think, well, I don't really like that product. Why don't you look at this? I might say, well, you could do that, but have you considered this? I could just take the order and deliver it, but I don't really think that's what an advisor should do. I should be there to give them advice, because I've seen the pitfalls. You know, at the moment, everyone wants 5 years fixed because the press are telling them that's what's going to happen. And of course, rates have got to go up. But should someone who's going to move in 2 years take a 5 years fix? Probably not, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And therefore, I quite often offer more than they want. And just going that little extra mile, it takes me another 20 seconds. But that little extra mile will make such a difference for you, because the clients think, this guy cares about me. He's actually trying to do the right job. And I genuinely do. That every client I take on, you know, if you're going to work with me, I'll give you 100% to get you where you want to be. You know, I would never lose the fact that someone's trusting you to do that job.
So do you think there's a fear factor involved with people that perhaps haven't been in it as long, where someone's saying, I want this product and I want that, and you're consciously don't want to lose a client or, you know, say the wrong thing, so they kind of jump on it, when actually you've got to be a bit fearless and go, I'm the advisor, you're the client, this is what you need, or this is what I think you need, you know, and kind of, think, you know, that's a factor to it.
I think so. I think, would I have been the same advisor? You know, I'm 42 now. Was I the same advisor at 21? Like, probably not, realistically. Would I question people as much? No. But I think the reason people are coming to brokers like me, which are kind of the more experienced brokers that, you know, probably different model, because I think you get people in your back bedroom that they've got a lifestyle business, they do a few mortgages, and they've got a great living, and good luck to them. I'm trying to be the other end of the scale, and at that point, that's why I'm going to question it. Sometimes clients want to go over payment, and I say, have you considered interest only? It's a risk. It would be easier for me to go over payment, but it doesn't really make sense what they're trying to do. And if they're educated professionals, they know exactly what the risk is, and we document it correctly, I don't see it as a risk. So I think you should be challenging people to some degree. That said, if I've been doing the job 18 months and I don't really sort of fully get it yet, I'm not going to question people as much. I get that. But yeah, for me,
your
it's
question
hard.
just gets better, then you learn it better, don't you? But I think that's part of it as well. So I know we didn't really touch on this, but like educating yourself, it's not. There's a lot of people now who work from home. There's a lot of new brokers who do it. Our personal opinions on the working from home with new people is that I think I got really good at my job from being surrounded by people who are really good. I know, like, your admin guys are getting better and better because they're surrounded by people like you.
Definitely.
How do you think the industry sit? What I'm scared of is being left with an industry of really mediocre advisors that aren't improving because of the working from home situation. How do you tackle that, do you think, as an industry?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, personally, when I'm doing stuff, I love mortgages, and that sounds really sad, but I actually really like the product. I like the concept. I love reading about lenders. I do most of the blogs that are out there. I mean, I'm not like take this blog. I might just have it on the background. I wouldn't necessarily be listening to every second. Obviously, they should listen to us, Mark, because it's the best blog going. But I mean, if it was anyone else but you and I, exactly, I'd have it in the background. But you know, I spend half my day listening to blogs. There's so many good blogs and podcasts out there. There's stuff to read. If you know, you can't get enough opinion. I get lots from LinkedIn. I'm linked in with lots of brokers that I respect, and I listen to what they're saying. And I think, oh, I might learn from that, and I'll interact with the brokers a lot because I think it's quite good. So I think you can help yourself on that front. But you know, I think like it goes back to how much do you want to make a name in the industry? How much do you want to be a good advisor? Because for me, that reading, getting to know things about the industry, you know, brilliant for us realistically. I also like when people, you know, I see quite a lot of the lenders. You see they're sort of some of their main people talking. You get a feel for where rates are going. If they're talking online, you can pick up so much. And I follow a lot of economists, and then some of the stuff they say I take at Lift. We're fortunate we've got our own portfolio manager. Before the Bank of England, I'm always asking him. He emails me direct now because he knows I'm going to ask him what's going to happen. What do you think? Because I'm talking to our clients about that. So if you want to be a top professional, and I think we've got to pitch ourselves at the same level as solicitors who are going to law school. Everyone sees a solicitor and go, wow. But your broker should be the same. We're professionals. We should know roughly what's going on. We should know how to be at the same level as those people, because we're doing a lot of the work, the same work. We're doing continuous CPD. Every day is a school day for me. I'm always learning something new. And I've got to pitch myself at the same level as the solicitors and those kind of people, you know?
That's really interesting. Do you know what? I had a conversation, I think we touched on it as well. It was with Martin Stewart at the Money Group, and he said, you guys were always on a par with IFAs as mortgage brokers, and then they went through their RDR and they improved and they got up there. So they're kind of how we imagine like solicitors. Because of the nature of the mortgage market, not yourself, you know, you're at the high end, but people kind of lump them in the same thing as, you know, the estate agents and scumbag recruiters like me. Whereas really, you should, like you say, you should be on the solicitor level. You're giving a technical service. But to be on that level, you've got to learn all the time, haven't you? They don't just learn the law and then go. An IFA has to keep passing exams. You know, it makes sense. The CMAP is the drop in the ocean for what you should be kind of educating yourself as a broker.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, look, CMAP's great to get it, but you know, when you get it, you don't become an advisor overnight. And you know, I think you learn on the job. It's a bit like driving. You know, when I first went out to drive, you know, the very first day you've got a license, don't really know how to drive. You learn it over time being on the road, and it's no different here really. I think for me, you know, you've got to look at where you want to place yourself as a broker. Maybe you've got, you know, your top tier of brokers that probably professionals that literally that's probably mainly what they've done for a living. They've been around forever. They know every lender. We remember all the original lenders. We know all the policies. We know all the right people. You've got people that work in the back bedroom, which is a great industry for someone that just wants to work at home and earn a living and fit it around their life. Good luck to them. You know, loads of them. I speak to quite a lot on LinkedIn. They're great people, but you know, they've got no desire to be there. They are where they are, which is brilliant. And I think there's somewhere in between. And I think anyone listening to this that was starting their industry, they've got to work out where they want to be, because yeah, it feels lovely to be one of the bigger brokers, but it's come with a lot of hours. There's been, you know, a lot of pain along the way to get there, and maybe you don't want that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, you just got to work out where you want to be. I think.
You know, you could look, it's an interesting one where, like you said about the working from home, doing a couple of deals. So I feel like some of those are not ruining the industry, but I do think there has to be a drive. And I don't think you get that from doing a couple of deals. You know, I do think you need that drive to be better, because that educates you, makes you better, and then you sell products better. So that side, I think, kind of dwindles away. That brings it back down a bit, but I do know what you mean. You know, there's a space for everyone in the industry.
It's such a big industry. There's so many people trying to buy, and you know, I think Marty said the other day how many brokers there were. I can't remember what he said, but I was quite surprised. It's quite a low figure. You know, there's room out there for everyone, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anything else you can think of that if you're a young broker now and you're starting out? I mean, the stuff you're saying is golden, because if they can't take something from this about your consistency, about being passionate, about being patient, and working really hard, it's working smart. I wish everyone takes on board what you said about administration, because in any other industry, you know, your lawyer has a paralegal, you know, your accountant has their person. Everyone who's at a decent standard has someone who deals with all the stuff shouldn't be dealing with. So it still blows my mind that we're in a really kind of antiquated industry where you're a six-figure guy and you're sat on the phone on hold to Santander for 3/4 of an hour.
It makes no sense. It really doesn't. I mean, I can't claim that was my idea. Lyft were doing that already as financial advisors.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. But I mean,
it's a game changer.
Yeah, but like the same thing. IFAs do it. You see an IFA doing a power planning job, do you?
Exactly. Why would you do it? I think in terms of the other things that I would do, I mean, I think there's little bits that anyone can pick up. So whenever I get a new client email, so brand new client, don't know who they are, you know, your name pops up in my inbox. I've never heard you. Hi, David, got your details from so-and-so. Can I speak to you? I will drop everything at all and reply back to that email the very first second, because the chances are they're emailing me, but they're emailing 2 or 3 other brokers, probably. I don't know, but I don't want to take that chance. So yeah. I will literally go back to them. And I'll challenge anyone listening to this, next time you get one of those emails, drop everything and answer it in 30 seconds flat. And the reply always comes back to the same client. Dear David, thank you for coming back so quickly. And immediately you've impressed them. And funnily enough, the other 2 brokers haven't come back for half a day and not really in the picture. You know, we've got to understand as an industry, if it comes to the lenders, we've basically got the same products. I know sometimes we know things and we can get deals in there, but predominantly it's the same. All we're offering is a better service. And if I get that right in the very first email in 30 seconds, what is there not to like? Why would they not want to go with me? They've already been recommended probably. And then I'm coming back in 30 seconds and being reactive. You know, being reactive is so important. I say to my team all the time, my admin team, just go back to the client. You can't talk to the client enough. I mean, there's probably an extreme, but you know, you generally can't talk to the client enough. There's so much you can learn by talking to the client, and you can give, you know, little bits of information here, just a quick update, but it really helps you, because you know, it's like you're waiting yourself for things and you don't get an update. It's really infuriating. So more and more I'm saying to them, talk to the client. I think the other thing I would sort of try and do really, excuse me, is just get people around you that are good at certain things. So, you know, my area of expertise, and we talked about niches. I saw you on LinkedIn the other day, Marcus, talking about it, and you know, niche as a broker. My niche is kind of high value clients, typically city clients, complex incomes, that kind of stuff. If a client comes to me and says, I want to do a shared ownership, I'm not the right man. If they want to do, you know, bridging, second charges, I don't really do a lot of that. But what I've done is I've brought people into the business around me and gone, like, you're good at that and I'm not. So if anything comes in, you take it on. And all I want from you in return is you look after that client like it was your own. And I think, you know, there's no harm in being a specialist in certain areas. You're not recruiting for 40 different professions. You've picked an area and you work in it and you're very good at it. and you know the ins and outs of it, and we can talk as if you were a broker because you know everything about the industry. But if I said to you go and recruit for nurses, you probably wouldn't know what to do. And it's no different for us. Find a niche that you're good at. What do you enjoy? I love the city stuff. In the old days, pre-pandemic, I love walking to the client's office. There's very little niceties. It's pretty much sit down, here's what I want, go. But I love that way of working. That's the way I work. I want to be quick. I want to be efficient. I don't want to talk about your dog or whatever it may be for half an hour necessarily, because we don't work in that industry. You know, and I think that's been really good. Other clients are there, they deal with other areas, but I think trying to be too generalist in many ways doesn't always help you.
So I know, so you've obviously hit that point about niches. I get asked that a lot because people are saying, Isla actually last week from Ennis was very honest about it, and he said, you know, they work really hard. He works really hard to get into that, and it's not for everyone. And you obviously deal with high net worth clients and that, but it's really easy for someone to look at your success and go, well, of course you deal with high net worth clients. That's why. But actually, how do you think you should get into your niche? Because obviously we have strong opinions about everyone should potentially have it, because it, you know, inch wide, mile deep type thing. You educate yourself, you become better at that. It's easy to become better at one thing, or easy to become an expert at one small thing, isn't it, than be a generalist? But how do you think people find it? How do you think people find that niche?
I think first of all, you've got to find something that you're interested in. I mean, so for me, when I was a kid, you remember, I'll go to football with my dad every Saturday. So I support Southend, and every other week we would go into an away game, and it always meant cutting through the city. And I remember even when I was 5 or 6, I used to look at the city, I used to look at the buildings and go, wow, this is where I want to work. And so I've always loved the city from like a tiny age, and I've always been, I find it magical. Even now, I went up a little while ago, I don't go a lot these days at the moment with the way things are, but even now I still love it. So I've always been interested in the city. And then having had the opportunity to work in the city, which not everyone's going to have, but I'm close enough I can do it. I wanted to be in that environment. And my day-to-day pre-pandemic, I do a couple of days in London, a couple of days at home normally, and I would walk around to clients' offices and see them, and I love that. And I find it really interesting. But then I've got a lady that works for me now, a broker. She's fantastic what she does. She loves buy-to-let. It's her passion. If you talk to her about buy-to-let, she could talk forever about it. She loves it. If I get buy-to-let, like a complex buy-to-let portfolio, it's not me. And I think you've just got to find, what are you interested in? I love being in the city. I love the fact that we're in offices in the city, and within 1 mile, you've got, I don't know, hundreds of millionaires. You've got hundreds of senior people making executive decisions. That blows my mind. I love it. And therefore, I knew that I wanted to work in that environment. And actually, when I was getting those type of clients, which was great, and Lyft helped me massively in the early days. I can't make out like it was me. They helped me a lot in the early days by knowing the right people to talk to. But the more those clients you meet, the more they meet, and they're hanging around with fellow people in the same line of work. But then when I was getting the buy-to-let portfolio people coming in, I was going, actually, I'm not going to talk to you because it's not my area of expertise. Let me pass you on someone who is good at it. And that allowed me to focus more time on it. If you look on my social media, I'm always talking about the high value stuff. I'm talking about bonus. I'm talking about changes in lending policy that affect interest only, which is typical for. So you've got to kind of talk it. Is it Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner? Is that the one where you build it and they will come?
Yeah, build it and they will come.
You know what? Great film. But as an aside issue, it was kind of true, because I started talking about it more and more, and I was putting blogs out about bonus and those kind of things. And then people were seeing me as an expert in that field, so more and more people contacted me. So I kind of, in a way, my niche was given to me because Lyft were in that position where we had some good city offices and good contacts. But I pushed on from there. But actually, this is what I want to do. I really enjoy it.
Totally. You wanted to be there. So I know you're not. I know you said like you only look at positivity in the sort of woo way like I do, but that is the law of attraction. Like you attracted Lyft because that's what you love. That's the passion, and they've attracted the clients, which was which continue to be your passion. So it's something to be said about attracting it initially. I think there is something connected to that.
Agreed.
So in regards to the niche side of things, do you think people can try and get it too early? Do you think you can try and niche too early? Because I see people out at the moment, new brokers who go like mortgages for X, and that's their, that's their niche. But they're new brokers. So do you think finding your niche is about? I know obviously find something you're passionate about, but do you think you have to take a bit of time to find your niche? There's nothing wrong with not having one in the first couple of years, for instance. You don't. What do you think? Do you think people kind of jump into stuff a bit?
I think you find where you want to be. If they're doing mortgages for X, but X is what they're passionate about, or their parents worked in X industry and they know all about it, it could be brilliant. I was quite fortunate when I started out. I worked in a small broker. Well, I kind of set up a small broker with my boss at the time from Lloyd's, name drop them. But yeah, great boss. And we started a business, and we just tried to do anything because we were running a business in the city. We didn't really know what we were doing, but well, knew the basics, but I didn't know all the niches. And I tried different areas, and I realised what I liked. And I think there's no harm in trying different areas. And if you've never done a shared ownership before, if you've never done a help to buy before, try it by all means. And maybe you love it and you find it. I just don't think there's a rush at 23 or 25 or whatever your first broker's age is these days. You'll know this more than me, but there's no rush to determine what you are for the next 30, 40 years, because I think if you're a broker, the brokers that I see that I would say are a similar sort of level to me, they've been brokers for life. You don't tend to get the high-end brokers that come in and go again. It's their job. It's all I've ever done. I worked in travel for a couple of years, and that was it. Literally, I've done nothing else my entire career because I'm passionate about it. I would say try a niche. If it doesn't work for you, brilliant. If your niche is, I'm a mortgage broker for tap dancers, how many tap dancers are out there, what are they earning? Be a bit careful. It could be a huge income. I don't know. I might be missing the trick here, Marcus. But maybe it's probably a tap dancing mortgage advisor banging his fist like I'm making loads.
We're talking about make a fortune.
Exactly. They put stuff out there, but I think there's great niches. I've seen so many niche people doing unusual contractors. I did a little while ago. I did a blog about I can't remember what it was called. Off plan, buying property off plan and buying from a third party. The name escapes me, but I did a blog about it. And we got about 30 inquiries off the back of it. Contract for reservation or something along those lines. It doesn't really happen anymore. But I did it, and actually there was only one lender doing it. But because it was so niche, I was getting tons of inquiries. And in the end, the lender stopped doing it, which was quite annoying. So I had to take the blog down. So I was just keep getting funny people going, how do we do it? And I'm like, there's no lenders left anymore. Well, there probably is now, but at the time there wasn't. So niches can be brilliant. I would just be a little bit careful on the niche you're in. If it's too niche, you might find it too limited market. But give it a go. If not, reinvent yourself 6 months later. There's loads of good brokers I know that have reinvented themselves. Buy-to-let brokers were everywhere, and then now the market started a little bit for that, and they're now becoming, fun enough, they're all resi brokers now. And you can try things. If it doesn't work out, give it a go somewhere different.
Okay, good. That's all. I mean, that is absolute golden. I just want to. You have to bear with me. I want to answer the questions that some people have answered, but I don't. Some of the. So for people have asked, I don't know if you mind sharing just about what software you use. Obviously, there's new brokers on here in regards to CRM and admin for your administrators.
Yeah.
Can you share that kind of thing? Are you happy to, or is it something niche?
I don't know if there's anything doing we could. We'll find out later. I'm on with Marcus, but I've been a Trigold man since Trigold was born. I love Trigold. I literally could have got a Trigold tattoo years ago. I loved it that much. And we've just switched to 27 Tech, I think, in the last couple of days, which is it seems good, like it. But there's obviously other providers out there that I'm sure are very good as well. Back office, we use Intelligent Office, I believe. Again, I don't really touch the system a lot, but basically we do use Intelligent Office.
Okay, good stuff. And so they put, what are your thoughts on advisors who refuse to take on clients' mortgages if the clients will not take out insurance?
I don't like that. So I don't like anything. I don't think it's legal, if I'm totally honest. But even if it is, for my mum, when the client comes to me, we want to help them with a mortgage. If they want help with every bit of the process, I will absolutely help them. Of course, we've got solicitors, we've got a life department, we've got surveyors we know. But I'm not trying to force the client into anything. It should be a natural choice. The clients, when I talk to clients, the people they generally dislike the most, I would say the estate agents. But there's tons of great agents out there. But the ones they dislike are the really pushy ones that try and get them to see their financial services, that make them try and use solicitors, that tell them they've got to complete in 4 weeks or they're going to sell the house to someone else. I don't want to be forced into a sale. We as advisors are professionals, and we should be trying to help someone. If they want loads of help, I'm here to help loads. If they just want the mortgage, great. I don't like anything at all that forces someone's hand, and I'm not convinced they should be doing that, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. So someone else has asked similar in regards to protection. How important is it for your business, protection? Do you sell it?
Yeah.
Or do you get someone to do it for you, or you've got a bit? Because that's another thing. That's a time consuming.
I don't touch it a lot.
No.
It is. It's time consuming.
You still protect everyone.
Look, first of all, it's so important. If you look at the pyramid of needs, protection's right down there. It's so important. So 100% to the person that's asked that, absolutely nail it. If I was a young advisor and I didn't have loads of business, I would definitely do protection, as long as I felt I could do a good job. Because people just think you just get a life policy and that's it, but there's so much that can go wrong. I've had a few clients die over the years. It's been horrendous. So don't go into it unless you know what you're doing. I've personally we've got a department called Lift Life, and we've got 5 people in Lift Life, I think. And again, I don't touch it, and I don't touch it because it's time consuming. And if you're going to do volume, you can't be time consuming. So I refer it over to them.
To protect them still, though, just to reiterate, that's not to avoid selling protection. That's just to have someone in your team that sells it. You know,
The message for me always is be good at what you're good at. I'm good at selling mortgages, and if you want to sell, advise on mortgages, whatever you want to call it, then I don't really have that much time to touch that protection. It's 100% a need, and we will refer in every instance. We'll offer the client a chance to talk to our own life department. They will put the life cover in place. They're experts at what they do. They know all the different policy quirks that I realistically don't know. So, certain life cover policies are better for certain things than others. They'll know all that kind of stuff. If I was working on my own, I would definitely do it, I'm sure. As it is, if you want to do pure volumes, a lot of money, you can't spend time on life. Because yourself, you get one on risk, they're brilliant. If the client needs doctor's reports, it can be a lifetime worth of work. So definitely do it. 100% important. Don't ever think it isn't. It definitely is. It's just, for me personally, we would outsource, source it internally.
Fantastic. Good. And there's one more question. I think. Oh well, it's aimed at you, David. But really, this is my niche. I think you're stealing my job. But someone has asked that they're new into the industry. Do you think they should be going into self-gen business if they don't know how to do it? I know we did touch on it. Or do you think they should go somewhere with leads?
Look, you've got to take it for that person. I'd say speak to a good recruiter, like Marcus, obviously, but speak to someone out there that knows. For me, if you're presumably that's a young person starting in the industry, you've got to look at it. And I've got young people that work for me, and they'd like to get into the industry. But when I started to make money was probably when I turned 30. I had kids at 28. I started to move in circles where there was other parents that needed protection, who needed houses that were moving, and my network of people that I could talk to just internally before I even started on marketing became a lot bigger when I had kids. If I was 23 and still been on the pub every weekend, and everyone else I'm hanging around with was 23 and not buying houses as well, it would have been a lot harder. And I think it all goes back to the point. Mortgage broking is a patience game. It's not something that comes quickly. It's something that's going to take time. I would personally consider going somewhere with leads, learn the trade, the pressure's off a little bit. The last thing you want as a salesperson on day one is having to try and generate all your own leads. Because if you don't do it, it's quite soul destroying. It's going to be hard to be positive. Does it put you into the, do you get in the wrong mindset when you've got to do a deal at all costs? Because I don't. If I don't like the deal, I'll just walk away and say it's not one for me. That you perhaps can't do that if you need the money. So for me, I would probably go somewhere with leads if I had the chance.
That makes sense. That's really good. Do you know what if we finish on that, but that's really useful. I appreciate your time. That's good. And if, like I said before, in regard to young brokers, if they can't see your passion and that kind of, and work out that it's work ethic, it's passion, it's every facet of mortgages that you have to educate yourself in, and just being consistent and picking up business that others maybe aren't interested in for the sake of the longer term, then that stuff is golden. I hope so many people have learned from that. So I really, really appreciate your time today, David.
Pleasure. Thanks,
if anyone's got any questions for David or myself, the email is on it, but I'm sure David will answer any afterwards as well. So happy if you pass me on any questions you've got for David. He'll be happy to speak to anyone, and we can take from there. But thanks for your time, David. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the invite, Marcus. I'm pleased to be one of Marcus's people.